everyone. My name is Crisette. My real name is Christina, but you can call me Crisette. And I had been basically since Burning Crusade, so a long while. I had been a mythic raider since pretty much it went out this raid as a mythic. And I had been pretty much a healer, so for me, healing logs is a bit, all over the place, but it's very important to learn how, what other healers do, especially with the same spec. So I always had been using Warcraft Logs as my helping tool to guide me to see what I can do to improve as a healer and to my spec. I will share my screen here in a moment, so you all have access. Let me see that you can all see it. And it doesn't lag or anything weird, I hope. If it's a bit weird or anything, let me know so all goes well. Basically, everybody has really been through Warcraft Logs. It's an important tool. Not only you can check everything through add-on, like the details add-on of how much damage you do, but the Warcraft Logs is a more detailed encounter log that you can analyze, not only in raid. Sometimes people as well in like beta testing or testing of the new dungeons, they also test log in Mythic Plus, which is very good because not all the time the information that you see on details or like the new damage dealer add-on is display everything, especially in the early stages of testing. So it's a very important tool. We will go through a bit how to navigate the website, the menu. What are the important menus you should look out for when you are analyzing? Because sometimes there is a lot of information that you can check, but sometimes it's just for to improve as a player or important tabs in the website. You will basically check only a few of them. So we will go through them. And as well, I will go a bit through how to use the compare tab, which is the most important one if you want to improve as a player, which we will go through a tutorial how to go step by step. So you can go on your own later and check it yourself. First of all, we will go a bit with the like fundamentals and the basics. And it is how you record logs. Sometimes you download the add-on, the app in your computer, and sometimes it's like, it's not working. And it's because you have to set up your login prior to like using the app in your computer. And this is by going into your system options. And in the network, you need to have the advanced combat login enabled. Otherwise, you won't be able to log at all. This is a very important step. If you don't have it enabled, you will not be able to log at all. As well as run the combat log in the chat. This is very important as well to enable login. This will be every time you want to log. So if you want to log in and start doing dungeons, you need to run this command. And as well, you need to run even if you reload, you need to like start the, you need to start as well, because this reset every time you do a reload as well. So important steps is the combat log command on your chat, you see here. And the advanced combat login to start logging. Once you had this set up, you can download the app, and there are different options. A live log will automatically log the fights and upload them to the website. If you don't live log, you can as well upload a log directly. This option you will have to select manually your log, and this you do on your World of Warcraft folder on the version of the game you're playing, so retail and logs. As well, for the live login, you will have to set up this path beforehand, live login, otherwise it won't work as well. And if you are choosing the guild you want to, by default you will get the personal logs, but you can as well select your guild, so you have an option there. So if you have like a guild that has a bot that announces this person is logging, it's because they have selected the guild log. And the field, the description is not, is optional, but it's very important to so you know which log correspond to what, like raid or like in a specific dungeon. So you can organize your logs very easily. And then on the, always, even if you are live logging, you need to have the combat log, always the command enabled. So always make sure when you are logging that you have this enabled. So now you, after succeeding logging a fight or any specific like raid night, you will have what is called a log report. Once it's uploaded, the window will look like this with all the fights you have been logging. Every log report will have a specific code which we will use later to compare different logs. And you can see here, if you see some fights here have a specific extra option on the side. This is because some of these fights or encounters, bosses or like keys, had wipes. So in the show all, if we have a menu there, that it will show the breakdown of different boss wipes, or like in the floodgate, it will show that probably at second boss they had a wipe. So you can see not only overall of the boss kill, but also the specific wipe. If you want to like analyze a specific raid night or like a specific boss, you always choose the all encounters of the specific raid night. And then you will have a basically overview of the whole raid night. So sometimes people just select something specific, but if you want to like log and check how overall the night has been in your guild, it is much recommended to check the all encounters tab. Once we go through a bit the logs, you can check on the specific boss, and then you will have the report view here. You can see here, for example, that there are phases for different bosses. Some bosses have intermissions as well, like different phases. You will see them as well here on the specific box on the right. You can, by default, it will display all phases, but you can manually select a specific phase in case that at certain point of the fight you have seen that, for example, 5 people died, or like suddenly some ads were not being dead or cause a wipe, nearly a wipe somewhere. You can select the specific phase in that tab, so you can see more specifically what happened there. And as well, we will go through here the different menus that we have in the website, which is the analyze, the compare, the mechanics, the rankings, etc. We can go through here. Analyze is the default view that you will get once you check on the specific boss. And this is the one that you will check spend most of your time here, because it's where it is all most of the information displayed. That is the damage done, damage taken, healing, deaths, casts. The compare option is the one that we're gonna do later in this workshop, and it's a very important tool because people don't click on that one very often, or completely ignore it because they just stuck on the analyze. But the compare option is one of the best tools you can ever have from this website, which is basically a guide and a coaching for you, because you will be able to compare yourself with top players of your same spec. So in there, we will go later on, but it's a very important tool that it goes unnoticed very often. And it will be the one that will help you measure your performance with another player. The mechanics one is a very interesting tool, but it's basically an external website we will go through a bit later. And it also does display a lot of information, but in a different way than Warcraft Logs do. And then we will go here on the rankings. Rankings is basically what you see of parses. Not only how players and the guild overall execution speed time, but you will also see the players' rankings in that tab. And then another tool that I really much recommend here is the replay one. The replay basically is what I would say not a video, but it's a visual display of your boss. You will see how the movement of your raid has been through the whole encounter, how the boss was placed, how people were moving, why, for example, if a death occurs at a specific place, you can see, for example, that maybe a player was close to a tank, and therefore probably they died to a tank mechanic that was very close to the tank, etc. It's a very important tool as well. I will say that compare and replay are very important tools to see what happened as well, because sometimes you don't see much the movement and stuff from in the other tabs of the Warcraft logs. So replay is a very important tool to see how other guilds as well move, what the movement, what other strats other guilds do as well for that boss. And it will help you as well to see deaths of players. Not only in the log will display the death of a player and what they died to, but as well the replay will display the position of that player. And then under here, this under menu that you see the tables and timelines event, this is an under sub menu. That is how the information from the upper menu, the analyze and compare and stuff, will be displayed. So tables is mostly what you will see mostly, and then timelines is a different kind of display of information that will be in timers. So you will see what you see here is mostly how this information that you're getting from here, it will be displayed. We will go a bit through the analyze section, because analyze is a very important tool to understand what is happening. And in general, when you are learning, it's very important to go to top players sometimes and you see what kind of comps they run, what kind of buffs they have and stuff. But also you can, here in the analyze page, you have so much information you can learn from damage taken, what abilities had been players taking most damage from, and you will see overall DPS and healing, and as well the deaths. This is more like overview of all the menus that you see here. You can go after very much individually, but this is like the overall what you can see here. Also, one thing that people don't really know about as well is this graph here that you see in the middle. You can manually click and drag. So for example, you want to see the beginning of a fight. You can click, for example, on 0, hold the click and then drag for the first 30 seconds, and you can see how, for example, the start of a fight looks like. I will go a bit through the rotation as well in the beginning of the fight in a few slides. But here it is just the default, what you will see here. It will always display all the members of the raid, which is all friendlies here. If you're not interested to know, I just want to see myself, you can do that by clicking on the all friendlies and then select yourself individually. You can always, if you want to check other player, like you are a raid leader and you are checking this person, you can as well on the all friendlies. I will go a bit back here because I'm gonna show you a bit how it looks like. I think I close my thing. I think I have it later. Rank is here. So I go back here to Lomithar, where is my log. And the summary here, I will display in a moment. Because in the picture you cannot see everything, but not only displays this menu, but if you scroll down, you will see the player's class and talents as well, and the gear. It's very good to have an overall. And you can see as well something very important through rating. It's the potions and hellstones, like how much people are like managed to survive, because usually in like sometimes you can see the deaths here, for example. You can see that they died, and then you can check if like how much do they use or to save, because you can see Nixandria died in the raid during the raid time, but he only used 1 potion, so he could have used a hellstone, for example. So there is a lot like information display in the overview. But if you want to just check yourself, you can always go into all friendlies and just click on yourself. You can see the whole what you have used for like build, and then your stats and your gear. And you will see overall, like I died here at this time, and all my abilities used during the fight. During this analyzing phase to check logs, it is mostly used the table option, like how you see the tables are displayed. But it's also very important through the analyzing a specific menu that we will use the timelines to check a specific with casts, what kind of ability do you use a specific time. Here is a bit how you see of the menu. And here it is like the most of the, like for example, interrupts and dispels, you will be using them in a specific fights, which you will have to dispel a specific mechanic. or interrupts if you have a specific ad that is casting a important cast that people have to rotate. Overall, what you will mostly use for to check is mostly the damage done if you're a DPS, or healing if you're a healer, and then you will check buff and debuffs, because buffs is where you will use your major cooldowns. We will go through a bit in a moment. Resources, I use it. For example, resources calculates how much holy power I have generated, for example, during the fight, and how much of that power generated I have wasted during the fight, for example. So it's basically for people that have resource generation. It also can be with mana, for example. But yeah, people use it mostly for like holy power or like other like rogue combo points. And the cast we will go through with it later, which is very important as well. Menu, I will say more than the other parts, because cast is the one that you're gonna be able to compare yourself with other players, and we will go that through it later. When you are analyzing your logs, especially with the damage healing, there are specific under the section that you analyze in the damage done. You will mostly check how much that ability, the number of casts. If you don't have casts, you can like check the number of hits of that specific spell. And it's very important to check your uptime. There is also a way you can, as well as a, this person is padding too much on ads, or this person is assigned to DPS this, because sometimes there are like boss fights that, for example, Lumithar, I wanted to select this one specifically because you have a mechanic which you have to damage the webs, right? So a way to check that the players had been DPS in the webs is through this tool that is called damage done, and then under the damage done, you have all enemies, and you can select specifically the tangle, for example, that is the web that you have to DPS the mechanic. Therefore, it will show up again down. You can see it here in the video. I think I linked the wrong one. Yeah. Let me show you a second here how you do it. In Lumithar, I will remove myself here. We will check on the damage done. You see here the DPS. And then we will check the infused tangle. And you can see it's different, right? You can see, for example, Wookiee Man was the top DPSer here. So you can see here the difference of how damage done overall looks like. For example, you see that Cyril is the top damage. Like, he parse very well and stuff. But you can see here that the MVP here in the fight actually was Wookiee Man helping with the mechanic. So it's very like important, like in fights in which you have a damage mechanic, like the tangles in this way. You can also see who's the person that had been focusing on it. And therefore you can see, for example, if you're wiping because this tangle has not been DPS down, you can see, okay, who is the people that are not actually damaging the tangles. So it's a very like good to like check under enemies, and then you can select the specific thing you want to look for. Another important part, not only about damage done, but as well is the the major cooldowns usage from the people in your raid team, as well as yourself. You want to check where I poke wings or you pop your major cooldown. This can be displayed in the buff tab. You can see in this video here. We basically go into buffs, and you can, like the same here, in the same way as you see enemies, you will be able to filter out your specific cooldown. So I will remove here. I will go here in the buffs. And then you see here, this is the overall of like everything. You will see here major individual cooldowns of all the raid team. As well, you can see the power infusion timers. But if you want to just check something in particular, not only a player, you can like select the specific buff that you want to check. Like if you want to check somebody else, like CD, you can do it here because it's all filtered out. I can check, for example, my aura mastery, for example. You can see it that I popped here. You can also just check your cooldowns. So I can just, instead of by ability, you can sort out by myself. And you can see here, I have like my wings here, and you can see the timers here. You can not only check your major cooldowns in the buffs, but you can also check, for example, defensives. Like here is my divine protection. You can check as well how much I had been using it. It's a very important tool, buffs. People don't really check much about it, but you can check everything in here, including tier sets. In uncategorized buffs are usually hero talents and, for example, some talents that you have and the tier set as well. So it's very like you want to check, for example, people also when they do testing and stuff, they check this kind of stuff to see that everything is working properly. And if it's also a way to recognize bugs. So by checking this buff tab you can check it very easily because you can see the uptime of the abilities that you have. I actually like click about regarding buffs and stuff because it's very important to like later to compare yourself regarding comparing your cooldowns with other cooldowns. So it's gonna be very interesting to learn about how you can compare yourself the major cooldowns that you do. So it's very, very good. Also with the buff uptime, you can also check with your other players how some abilities and what they use and their uptime as well. One of the things that I wanted to also like show you, like in the future, if you want to check a specific timeline or like you want to check, for example, okay, how my class is doing the opening of a boss. So you can do it here in the cast tab. So you will click on the casts and then you will select on the timelines. and then it will display all the rate, right? I will firstly use the graph. You see here how I do it. I click and drag the first 30 seconds of the fight. And then I will select the player that I want. Once I got the timeline selected, for example, I select Sancti. Yes, as an example of a DPSer. You can check the timeline here. You can see what he's pressing. You see, for example, he got at 4 seconds the power infusion probably for somebody else. You can even zoom in even further in the timeline if you want. So you can see what he has. You can see he started with Halo there. It's the first thing that he did, and then he had other abilities. So it's a very good way to understand, like, I don't know how to do openings in raid of my specific class. Or I'm learning, I have to play another spec for raid. So you can learn a bit the opening there as well by doing in the login in the cast and then timeline. Other important tool in the menu that people basically don't check at all much, but in Mythic raiding is it's like you check every raid as a Mythic raider is the death log. It's something very important to understand how people are managing the fights. Specifically, if you are progging a boss that you are struggling a lot, the death log can help you to see what people are struggling with, especially with specific timeline or like mechanic. Sometimes the death log can show, like sometimes when the people like they force a wipe, like it's a wipe, so you can see it basically. But you can also see on the total death by killing blood thing on the right, on the left, you can see the main you can see the main source of killing your team, I will say. And then on the right, it will display the total deaths caused through your raid prog night. It's a good measurement. However, the total deaths by player, I know this, I don't know how it is next expansion, but I know at least that, for example, Holy Priests tend to cheat with this because, you know, they don't really die kind of thing when they wipe or whatever. So they cheat this log a bit. So you can see that priests probably they don't have much deaths, but they actually died because we wipe or this happened. But it's also good to like learn. Like, for example, I had in early prog, like struggling with, I think it was the third boss, and I had the most deaths, for example. I could, like, it's a good way for the raid leader to have a hold how people are doing with mechanics and to help them. It's a very, like, helpful tool to say, okay, this person seems to be struggling in this boss, but so we can help him understand what is happening. And it is something that I wanted to also like show that it's not only these tables, but this table down here, usually people don't look at it, but it's the, I would say, average like death percentile thing. It's not like death per se, but is for example, is the average, is the higher it is, for example, these that are 90 are people that were alive for the longest period of time. So these people basically didn't drop at all. However, these people that are on the lower percentile, they're the ones that died or like really struggle with the mechanic, like they didn't survive at all. So you can tell here how like they manage to do the boss by these percentiles. And it's good to know in in a long raid night, it's good to see the average here, because you can see the people that are doing well or have been managing the mechanics well, and then you see the people that probably struggle a bit more. But always, like, when taking, like when we're analyzing bosses and logs, always take in consideration about the mechanics of the boss, and specifically the player, if they had assigned any specific mechanic to do. Because sometimes when they are assigned to a specific thing, they can be tend to die more frequently at the start of that prog than somebody that doesn't have to do any special assignment and stuff. So yeah, it's good to know, to see if somebody is struggling to survive. This is what the percentile is about, to learn a bit, like have a bit of a hard time to survive in this boss than, for example, Neo. It's just to have a overall perspective, and also it's a tool to help the specific person that you. It's a visual way to see who's struggling, right? So you can help them. Okay, I see that you are struggling on this boss, surviving and stuff. We can help you a bit going through the mechanics, or like it's more like a helpful tool to have. Keep an eye to the people that probably have a bit of a struggle and help them. Here. There is a way as well to like something like in a boss fight, there is a specific timeline that you want to check. So you can always use this graph to go exactly to this person and this timeline. For example, they died here to the, like, I will say the web line. But you can go through the wipe as well. And then you will go through the deaths. And then you will see the graph here of every individual player have died to. And you can as well like click on the specific person there. And you can see there everything that has happened to him prior to where he died. Like all healing, all like he has been using a healthstone or a health pot. It will be displayed in that timeline. You can see everything, all the events that has happened before he died. It's very good to to analyze. Okay, I died here. What happened really to me? A part of the, okay, you died to this mechanic, but maybe sometimes happens that a specific player is not getting enough healing, or like probably is a bit far away, so only one healer is healing him. So this timeline helps to see if, for example, okay, we need to tell these healers to focus on this person, kind of thing, because he's merely getting healed. Only, for example, he got healed by, yeah, you see that the druid and the priest was healing him a lot, for example. And now the interesting part that many people see sometimes in the overall like report logging, there's a tab that is called rankings. Every rank is individual. Is here is where your performance basically is like displayed, and it will be how well a player performs within the class and the boss, but also the boss on that difficulty. You will get here up in the option. You have the today and historical. The today is like up to date, and the historical is mostly like in the past, like the first logs and stuff. There is as well, sorry, Up in the corner here, precisely under rankings, you have two options. People don't like what are rankings and what are parses. Is all subjected to time, which rankings is mostly to a fight overall, but the parses is more of a 2-week period. So you have rankings, which is across all time, and then you have the parses that is within 2 weeks. It's basically the difference between them is basically time-wise, how they are measured by time. Wait. And yeah, when we're thinking about rankings and how well people do on rankings, always taking consideration about how the boss is designed, if they have ads, if people are padding on ads. Like, there is also some blocks in which ad counts. So it's also very important to to see how the boss design is. Early deaths, also, obviously your parse is gonna be influenced by if you have died through the fight, and if you actually been rest and stuff. And there is also like something with parsing that some people tease it, like they go in boost runs, they go and help other people, for example, and then they do obviously better than the people in the raid, so they parse very good. So yeah, it's always very subjected. But it's also very good to see here as a guild. It's very important to see a bit how over the course of your prog, how people are performing. They are very as well rankings. If there is a major patch which has in some class changes, it will be also in a separate tab, which it will show the specific patch as well. And regarding ranks and eye level, you basically look most both, but think about eye level percentile. They will always compare the players with the similar eye level to you, and will change in the course of time, obviously, because if you see the log, we were 719 at the time, so it changed over the course of time. So the rank is comparing your players for this specific fight and difficulty. Doesn't matter the eye level. And the eye level is more eye level specific. It's more like, I will look at both, I will say, because eye level is mostly to other players with the same eye level, while the other one is mostly fight, how you did with comparison with other holy paladins in that fight. So it's a bit to understand a bit the difference. Rank is most fight, and the eye level is more your gear and other players with similar gear to you has done performance. Also, regarding parsing, now that we were talking about rankings and parsing, parsing is very dependent in logs, especially for class design, how your CDs, how long and the duration of your CDs are. Because there are certain fights that are longer than others, so you will be parsing differently depending on the duration and your CDs. It will also depend on the amount of hit buffs you have. If you're getting, for example, power infusion and so on. And there is also, your parsing will be influenced by the count log. This is what I meant before regarding ad damage is counted or excluded. This will be as well how your parses will be displayed. And it is a term that you will be, if you are an early progrer person, you will basically parse very probably high the first weeks, and then the longer the tier, it can fluctuate a bit regarding of the gear. And as well, not only think about eye level, but sometimes you might parse bad, even if you have good gear, and it will be because of your stats. So high level gear and stats early in prog also will give you very good parses. I've gone a bit now through the basics to go a bit navigate, understand a bit how you navigate log, and understand a bit how you can check a bit different tabs in the menu. I will go through a bit right now how you compare yourself and how specifically on your spec on a specific fight that you are like, I want to do better, like in raid, because they're telling me that, oh no, I'm doing low healing, or I'm doing very bad parses, how can I be better? I don't know, let me know if you guys want to take a break before, since it has been 48 minutes. If it's okay, I can continue. I don't know, Halionix, if you want to take a 5 minutes break or anything, to straight, or
I'm not sure. Go straight into it.
Yeah?
Okay. Yeah, I think we're good.
Perfect. Now is this is the part that people will learn the most, how to improve performance-wise. And this is for, like, in the future. This is kind of with everything, especially in the beginning when you don't know what people are running or what they are using their cooldowns or what they're using in general. To compare yourself is gonna be a important tool to, like, from the beginning of prog, how to improve yourself, and especially since fluctuates a lot in builds and stats, and as well what they rotation wise they use. So for this, the first you will do is, like, there is a rate tab option in the website, and here will show rankings for, like, every single boss. So you basically just click on the boss you want to, like, improve on. In this example, I use the one that is the Lumithar one. And then here, it will display this option here. You can check here what you are interested in. I'm a healer, so I go into healing. And then I will go into Lumithar, and I will go into Paladins. Here, it will give you an overall, or all high parsers. I think is the first 50 top parsers of that specific spec you are searching. And here it will also display, like, information of what are the most popular trinkets, what are the most important, like, popular embellishments they're running, and it will also give you the popularity of builds, like what are they using. Maybe they're not using, like, what you were using, like, in comparison. You can see it in this overview of the page. But for to compare yourself, the first thing you will ever do is, from your log, where you have been logging in the boss, you will have a duration of your kill time. you can always check from the top of your class, of your aspect, sorry. You can filter here the duration of it. And you can, for example, I had a 627. So I will choose the one that has a similar duration to mine. So I choose one that it had a 638, which is basically 10 seconds over the mine, but it's fine. So I choose that one. Here is like the tricky part. Here, like I told before, when you are logging, every log will come with a code. This code, you will see it here on the top of your website. When you are clicking on somebody else's log, you can copy this code here. And that will be their log code. This code, we will use it to use the compare tool. So the reason that we do this beforehand is to get that code so I can use it later for what I use for compare. Now we are here in my log. So I'm going back to my log here in my fight. And then we will use the compare tool here in the menu that I mentioned earlier. Here, I will click on the compare reports, and I will use the compare with IRL. They don't really work with links. The URL is actually the code that we just copied beforehand. So we paste it here, and then we click on OK. And then this window here on the right will appear. It will be like the analyze report that we had from the start. And if you click on healing, it will display everybody. So it will, you want to filter this option. So for example, I want to click on me and the other paladin so I can go in depth what he has been using and what I have been using. So for this, you click on all sources and you need to click this twice because you only click once, it only select one player. So I clicked first me and then the other paladin. And then it will basically look like this on the right here, top right. This will be the top analyze all my top spells. You can also see the number of casts. This is very important when you are analyzing performance of other top players, is to see, okay, I have this number of Eternal Flames. This is my major healing source. And for example, this person cast over 24 times than me. So there is a difference, why he's doing more healing than me, basically. For example, he, in number of Holy Shocks, we had approximately the same, but you can see also the order or how this healing is done. For example, you will understand more what your aspect and your breakdown and your major spells, for example. But for example, my problem is that my Holy Shock healing is more than, for example, Beacon of Light. So he probably used his Beacon of Light more efficiently to do this AoE healing than I did, for example. You can see that he actually did more healing than I did with this ability. So it's a very nice tool to compare yourself, your major spells, the number of casts and hits, and how much average per cast has done as well is very important to check. You can also look at the timeline here if you are very curious how people do their rotation, for example. You will see this on casts here and timelines. the cast will display both me and the paladin timeline of all your spells through the fight. And you can always check a specific, like the rotate. You can analyze your, for example, rotation with another of your same aspect to see, okay, I'm using more this than that. Maybe I should use more of this ability instead of this one. And also you can check as well openers, like how they start the fight. And you can spot, maybe my opener is wrong because I'm doing this and I see this person is doing it in this way. So you can also understand a bit how people do their opener, and also to understand if you understand the boss already and the specific mechanics that is happening is also helpful, because you will understand why that person is using this spell at this specific time. So you can learn a bit more about, okay, probably I should do more this way. For example, here in the timeline, I use, for example, judgment very often, which is a mistake of mine because I play Mythic Plus, so I'm used to use judgment very often, but you shouldn't do it so much in raid, for example. So this is, for example, an example of what you can see here and how you can correct your mistakes as well. Like, you are using more of an ability than probably you shouldn't, or like this player is using this ability and then you might learn, oh, okay, it's because of this mechanic coming, or somebody's like resource. Like, I know some aspects have like some pre-cooking resources, things like, I don't know if a warlock have something with shards or something, like, and then their rotation look specific way because of that. So it's a very important tool to like compare yourself with others. It's basically on the cast and the timelines, and then you can see everything this person has done in comparison to what you have done. Here is a bit what I have been speaking about earlier, like, and also compare yourself, what ability maybe you should focus more on. And also, on this tab, you can also see how your stats in comparison to the other person's stats are influencing your way of your casts. Meaning of how much healing, for example, my cast does in comparison to his. You can also see it in this comparison. In the timeline and cast, before you want to go into the timeline, the table tab with the remember that this is a menu that displays the information in different ways, but it's like the same. Like this one, instead of just showing the timeline, the times, it will show as well the uptime of your spells and the amount. So you can see it here on the cast tab on the table option. And then on the timeline, you will see directly just the spell and the time. It is very important on this part of the cast tab is to learn how much a cast, how many, like for example, here I cast more flash of light than this person. Like there are different things influenced here, but overall you will learn like, okay, I need to cast more of this ability specifically. So you will learn more like what you're doing wrong and what you should improve on for like in the future raids. Like probably this play style is different, and then I'm just, spamming different spells, and probably it's better to just spam these two, and then this is what basically displays on this tab. You can also like not only compare yourself how the rotation is in comparison to yours, but also in the summary you will check everything you need. You can check eye level and all stats and builds, so you can check everything there. It's a way to check, okay, we did different builds, probably I should check and test their talents instead, see how it is, and then for example, I have more crit than the other person, but for example, I'm lacking a lot of mastery, which is very good for raid. So it's very influenced into my healing as well. That's why he's probably doing better healing. Not only on the rotation probably, but the stats are way different than mine. So probably I should stack a bit more mastery. Other important, the cast and timeline, you can also filter it. So you can only see different like spells. It is important to see everything overall to understand and learn and like improve. But also in the buff sections, you can also see everything, like how we learn in the all the abilities they have been using, especially since you know when they are using their major CDs, so you can learn a bit when you need to use your cooldowns. And in buffs, you can always also look when they put it. Like buffs, as I said before, is a very important tab, which you see everything ability-wise, but also consumables, like not only health stones and health pots, but also like their DPS or like stat spots. You can see when to put. And this you do it in cast, and then you can check the major cooldowns here. And then you can compare yourself here by you going to cast, and then you select specifically the cooldown you want to check. And then you select cast by source, which is you want to see the as. And then you can check here on the events, you can see the timers. For example, I squeeze one more wing than the other person during the fight. So the event tab, it will display the information like this. So it's very like hopeful, like very helpful, these three different ways to display information. And the events is mostly like time-wise, and then you see on the graph and the cooldown and the source. Other thing that you can see here, for example, is grayed out, because by default it will only display one player, but you can check the other by clicking on the player. You can see the other person CDs in the graph. And yeah, as I explained earlier, very important is to check the buff tab in the logs, which you will see basically the major cooldowns, the defensive, where they use the defensive abilities, and the uncategorized buff are usually tier set and where they use their trinkets. You can see as well, for example, I got the innervate. During that person got innervate, but I didn't have any, for example. And this person used some, like, I think this one is the mana pot that you need to stand still. And I just use a DPS pot, for example. some buffs, you will be able to see this. There are other tools. I don't know, people know about this, and that you can check by your cooldowns, pot usage, and buffs like power infusion or like innervates, things like that. And there is a website called Logs.io, and this will like display the top 50 parsers like Warcraft Logs does. And you can even like filter the report with the comp that you want. Like you have a specific healing comp or DPS, like where you run only 2 melee DPSers and stuff. You can also do it in here. You can also as well load your personal log or another log. But in general, you can go as well in your spec in Warcraft Logs, in Logs.io. And on the specific fight, you can see in a more graph manner all the top loggers where they use their cities. So you can learn a bit, like, it's also good for healing assignments. If you are a raid leader and you want to assign healing cooldowns, you can basically check this website and you will see where people are using their cities. It is as well as where DPSers need to use their cities as well. People check this website to see, okay, they're committing their 3 minute here. So this website comes very handy to help you not only to like yourself check where people are using the cities, but as well as a raid lead. It's a very easy way to manage cities. Yeah. I hope this was very helpful for you. I can do an example with the workshop with the compare. Otherwise, I'm always like here in the Discord if anybody has any question that doesn't come right now. They can always DM me. But if anybody has any questions now, they are very much welcome to ask. I don't know if there is any. Oh, there.
Yes, hello. I have one little question about the parsing part still.
Yeah.
Let's say an example. We keep the boss fixed. I do against a certain boss, let's say 2.7 DPS.
Yeah.
My first guild I'm in is a little bit of a low progressive guild, which usually does in normal and possibly does a little bit on heroic. I parse very good in that guild.
Yeah.
I switch in guilds, and the next guild I'm in is a guild which comprises of mythic raiders, people who do like insane amounts of damage. And is it then so that the values that I still do 2.7 mech damage?
Yeah.
Does that mean if the relative amount of DPS outgoing from the guild in the parses is higher, that my personal parse is lower then?
The parsing of the guild is individually to like 2 variables. Let me see if I can go here back into the rankings here. They have this execution ranking and the speed ranking. These are like totally like just basically to the guild individually, to just this guild, and its execution is basically how well people have been managing mechanics and surviving and doing the whole fight, and the speed is the amount, like the duration of the fight. So you can see here, for example, we did a bad parsing because actually we did low DPS. As you can see, there are great login because, and then the duration is very long. As for a person yourself doing parsing is also always going to be influenced by the raiders in your team. And this is individually for this boss and difficulty. Some heroic and mythic has on parsing. But specifically, for example, there is why people that goes into like boosting and helping like others, people that are thing is, if you are in a group that people are doing very good, you're gonna probably be influenced your parsing regarding that, because if you have a very insane player taking a lot, but even with that, your ranking, for example, on the left, you're gonna be influenced by that specific boss and fight in comparison with other of your same spec. So yeah, it's a bit like when, for example, healers parse, right? Like if we are many healers, we will parse very badly because there is not much damage in comparison for number of healers healing. But it's basically kind of similar with DPS, I would say.
Yeah, I actually had a friend which suffered from exactly that thing, what you called, from his healing parts were relatively low, but there were like an insane amount of healers, and there's only so much damage you can heal in a raid going in, and if the damage is being dealt upon more than a standard amount of healers, then the parses are going to be very suckworthy.
Yeah. So basically, parsing is just people overlook a bit over the course of prog to see how people are doing, but it's always like influenced by other like factors, kind of thing, I would say. So it's like I wouldn't take back hand to hand that.
Many guilds are putting like a requirement from you need to parse on this and this quality in order to make, for example, the raid group. But for example, if I did well in comparison to the rest of the raids in my old guild A, and I still do the same amount of damage in guild B, but because they are all ex-mythic raiders, the relative my damage is relatively low. At least I'm coming lower in the let's say in the damage meters. It is okay. That's basically what I wanted to clarify.
You can always analyze yourself. For example, in the compare option, like you say, okay, this other, like if I'm a warrior, see what other warriors do at the same, like in the same boss in the timeline to understand a bit maybe. But sometimes people not only look how good you parse, but also they look other factors like the deaths, for example, because I know, for example, in my guild we had a player that was parsing very good, but it was griefing the team because he wasn't doing mechanics, and many times we wiped because of that. So they see that too. People don't think about it, but they don't only see your like ranking, they also see the death log and stuff like that. People don't think about it.
Not so much as how much damage you dish out, but how well you dance, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks for the whole presentation. It was very illuminating.
Hello, buddy.
Hello, long-time fan. I wanted to ask a little bit about more of the comparing, because when you're pulling up a compare, it will typically find a log that like matches you by different factors. How do you like determine like which factors you want? Like half the time when I'm looking at it, it's oh, I want to compare myself against another person playing my spec, playing my hero talent. Um and then it will typically go and say like, okay, this is somebody who's got the roughly the same fight length as you. But
Yeah.
could I like narrow it down to be like I'd like a raid size that's similar to me so that that I'm getting similar numbers, or I'd like the same amount of healers, like the previous example where it's like, hey, one person was like one group was two healing it, one group was four healing it, and so I'd like to better compare apples to apples.
Yeah, true. That was a good question, Manny, because I didn't actually say about this, but you can do the compare yourself with a top player, that the one that I did, to like understand a bit more rotation wise and stuff. But you can also do the compare tool, and you don't have to have a log as well if you don't want to do it. Like you can select a player, may, and this option here, it will search basically like similar comps to you. Basically, it will search. And we will go here. And they will search basically similar here. So you can check. They will search players basically, or logs that have similar comps and similar eye level. So you can see here, like here, for example, this log. It's basically the same. Let me see here, the summary here. It will be basically same build. I think even if you compare like friendlies, you will see that they have a similar comp to you. They have same healers or same amount of healers. They will probably search similar like comps to you. That's at least in the compare one.
Okay.
It's
And
a
that
bit
show more will
hard. Sorry, Manny. What did you say?
sorry, the show more there shows like their talent choices in that, so you can see if it's like affecting.
Yeah, this one they will search something that is basically similar to yours, but not completely the same, but similar to what you choose. But still, you can see that there are differences. But we have kind of more of a close eye level, for example. Like this tool is, instead of you like searching a specific player from the top login, this tool will be specifically searching for something similar to what you have in your log. And I think that's what you were wondering as well.
Yeah, because like as much as like I would love to compare myself against like the best in the world, that's not as helpful as somebody who's playing similar to me and doing better, and like how can I do better in my current situation, or
Yeah,
how can I evaluate somebody who's playing in a similar team and how they would do versus like when they get dropped in to like my situation.
yeah. So here the search for parts is similar to yours. I think regarding, sometimes it's a bit hard regarding like 3 healing or 4 healing or 2 healing. That is more like when you select the player and try to search, probably they will say healing.
Yeah.
They have more like, it's more like in your range of what it was logged, I will say.
Yeah, it's definitely So as a DPS, it's a little bit more straightforward because like
Yeah.
that boss is going from 100 to 0 in most times, regardless. And so as long as like the fight length is
Yeah.
similar, it's like how much damage did I do in that fight? That equals DPS. But for healing, it's like there's no control over how much stupid stuff I might stand in that you need to cover for.
Yeah, you understand. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. Yeah, you can also see here on the damage taken as well regarding how people, like for example, I was taking a lot of damage to stuff. But yeah, you can see as well on the healing when what you talk about. It's the overheal section as well. Here we have the healing tab, and then you can see here how much overhealing we done. Some aspects do by default more overhealing than others, but you can also, if you have, for example, healers that are parsing gray, and you have several healers that are doing a minimum of 40 overhealing, that means that you are having more healers than damage is happening. For example.
Okay. Honestly, on that one, it looks like that paladin is sniping all the heals because the
Yes.
that is a priest.
But actually, for example, this fight, we used to 4-heal it, and we like, for example, only one of the healers parts purple, but then the rest of the healers were parsing bad. But it's because, yeah, you can do as much healing, for example, and probably that healer's city is aligned well with damage happening, and then the other healers probably, yes, they were just healing and basically not healing as it was needed. Like they overheal way more than people needed.